What's up, closers? Happy Memorial Day. We're excited that you're here watching us today, us, because there's somebody else holding the camera. It's not just me here, and I'm not just schizophrenic as normal. So before I start telling this story is going to consist of goat testicles, right? A fake doctor, and a master con man. I'm going to tell you a story about all three of those together, and a guy from Texas too, not me. Obviously, I have nothing to do with goat testicles or any of that things of that nature other than this story. So happy Memorial Day again. Make sure you share this. Let some people know you're going to love this story. It's a story about one of the greatest salesmen ever, really one of the greatest snake oil salesmen ever. You've all heard that term before, right? Well, this guy's more like a goat ball salesperson. So you take snake oil, replace it with goat balls, and you got... I'm not trying to look like I'm holding balls in my hand here, right? So let's talk about a gentleman named Dr. John Brinkley. You see, Dr. John Brinkley in the early 40s came up with this idea for helping. He was like the first male enhancement drug, right? Long before there was Viagra or there was Cialis or anything else, there was this gentleman named Dr. John Brinkley. He started out in Wichita, Kansas, and he started a small operation where he convinced dudes to come in and have an operation on their testicles and replace their human testicles with goat balls. Now, Patrick is behind the camera. Patrick, could you imagine that? Goat balls? Like, really? But people thought this was a great idea, right? There's a great sales lesson behind this. Just hear me out. So people thought this was a great idea, and dudes would show up, and what he would do is he would put them to sleep, right? They'd go under, he'd do the anesthesia, he would shave their balls, and he would cut a little nick in it with like an X-Acto knife, and he wouldn't replace their balls at all, and he would sew them back up, and he would send them back out, and they would go home to Pound Town, right? And these guys, they would have this new thing, and they would write them all these testimonials about how awesome his stuff was, and about how the goat balls were like dragging on the ground like that episode of South Park where they were microwaving them to get free weed, and it was just great. And this guy made so much money that on any given day, if you walk past any of his doctor offices, they looked like welfare recipient offices in a socialism and a social economic collapse. There was people lined around the corners. There's a book by Dan Kennedy called Make Them Believe. You need to check it out. It's a great book and it explains the whole thing. But here's the deal. The reason why Dr. John Brinkley was able to sell so many pairs of non-existent goat testicles was several things, right? There's several things that you should know about the mind of your prospect. You see, what he sold them was hope. He sold them an easy solution. Come in, go under the knife, and we'll fix your problem at home. And people believed in that. They believed that it couldn't be them, that it couldn't be something they did, that there was this outside thing that was affecting them, their balls in this case, and they could get an outside solution to that. But the thing that you have to understand about Dr. John Brinkley and what made this such a miraculous operation and what made him ultimately millions upon millions of dollars in a time where like $1 million is like unheard of, right? Like, nowadays, if you're a millionaire, you're middle class. We all know that. But back in the day, $1 million was unheard of, let alone $40-50 million, right? All from goat balls, right? So first of all, that just shows you that there's always been a market full of stupid dudes, right? Ladies, I know you're laughing right now, but it's true, right? We dudes are stupid, right? You read the back of any penthouse magazine, it's nothing but big dick pills and get rich quick schemes, right? Somebody's falling for it because those ads ain't cheap. But the thing with Dr. Brinkley was he was convincing in his delivery, right? He was a 100%, that's where the con and con man comes from, is the confidence, the convincing portion of it, right? And so he was convincing in his delivery. He could look somebody straight in the eyes and tell them that these goat testicles will change their life and enhance their performance in the bedroom like nothing they've ever had before. And he felt 100% convicted for the simple fact that he'd seen these dudes' lives change. He knew that most everything that we're going through is a mental thing. Most everything that keeps the prospect from getting what they want is a mental game. It's a mental block. There's something in the way. There's something in their mentality, something in their mindset that keeps them from getting what he wants. And then he knew, Dr. John Brinkley knew how to remove that mental block away from his prospects, right? And that mental block was, let me replace this with goat balls, but really it was the thing that they thought they had been fixed. And so that placebo effect came in their mind. Well, here's the thing, the reason why I tell you this story is what made Dr. John Brinkley millions upon millions upon millions of dollars wasn't the fact that he was a con man, right? That might have had something to do with it. It wasn't the fact that he knew how to put goat balls in humans, which obviously he didn't. What made him so much money was his ability to garner confidence. Whether he was lying or telling the truth or anything in between, he was able to look the prospect in the eye and convince them 100% in confidence, get his body language, right? These things, his expressions, everything else in line with the words coming out of his mouth, and the prospect couldn't help but believe that he solved the problem. So here's the problem. A lot of salespeople, they're not closing sales, and it's real simple. They don't have confidence in what it's selling. And it's funny that a guy like Dr. John Brinkley, who made so much money, bought radio stations, media outlets. Dude, the FCC shut him down. He bought his own radio station in Mexico and started broadcasting the Get a Bigger Dick broadcast or whatever it was that they had going on at the time too. The FTC and the FCC kicked him out of America. He launched on the other side of the border down there in Texas, I think on the Mexican side of Los Rios, and was able to like do his broadcasting from there so that he continued. He bought a big enough fucking antenna to where he could broadcast the signal because there was a demand for what he was selling. And the demand was the fact that they saw his confidence, they believed in it, and then his confidence was so contagious that other prospects caught the confidence. They went home, they went to Pound Town, like I said earlier, then they stepped up and they told the story about how they'd been healed because all of a sudden he had enriched their confidence too. So the reason why I tell you this is it's kind of a funny story, right? But more importantly, it's probably lack of confidence that's keeping you from closing sales. And if a man like Dr. John Brinkley can look a prospect in the eye and bold-faced lie to them in the hopes of getting them the results that they want on the other end, right? The placebo effect. And I'm not telling you to lie to your prospects, but what I'm telling you is that you should be 100% convincing in your delivery. When you tell the prospect that you have the best sales training, when you tell the prospect that you have the best vehicle, the best prices, the best mortgage terms, the best negotiation skills for a real estate agent, when you speak those things to the prospect, you need to convey confidence. And if you'll convey confidence, 120 million% complete conviction for whatever it is that you're selling, it's contagious, and the prospect will pick up on that too, and they'll go around singing praises about how you're their hero. See, oftentimes the prospect is confused, is insecure, and is indecisive, right? And so when you're the confident bridge in between that insecurity and that indecisiveness, right, and that uncertainty, and when your confidence can bridge those things and show them, it's like, hey, you may not have the answer, but I do, which was ultimately what Dr. John Brinkley was saying, was like, hey, you don't know why you can't get it together in the bedroom, but I do. Let me fix it for you. And he knew it was all in your head, but it took some physical side projects. It's a little snip of the nuts, a little shave there, right? Just took a little bit of that to get it going on too. So here's the thing, tomorrow when you get back to work, for those of you outside the car business, because we all know you fuckers are working today, right? They will never give us a day off in the car business, right, Pat? No, Pat, we sold cars together. What's Memorial Day? Just another fucking day, right? So we congratulate you out there on selling some cars today, hopefully. But for the rest of us, when we get back to work tomorrow, here's what I'll have you consider. Speak with confidence, speak with absolute conviction, and watch your closing ratios increase. So, hey, if you dig this, share it. Hey, go grab the book by Dan Kennedy. First of all, Dan Kennedy's a legend. If you're in sales, you never heard of him. He's one of the greatest marketing, advertising, direct response copywriters you'll ever read from, and that book, Make Them Believe, is entertaining as hell, right? Forget snake oil salesman, we just selling goat testicles over here. So hey, have a good weekend. Happy Memorial Day. Later.